Kia ora, New Zealand. Welcome to Sweet Chain Live. This is episode 12. And it's the 8th of April. Today we've got a great show for you tonight. First up, we're going to be going through your hot scores, and there's some absolute beauties this week, some great disc golf being played. And then we've got two great guests for you on tonight. We've got Justin Workman, who's been just ripping up the tour recently. So we'll be talking to him about his story and how he's got to New Zealand and his future plans. And then a little bit later on, we'll have Chris Davies on the show, who's going to be talking to us about the Peter Crowther Memorial Trophy, tournament, which is coming up this weekend. Very much looking forward to it. I'll be going down myself, so hope to meet many of you there. So without further ado, let's get into the hot scores for the week. And starting off as ever in Invercargill, Jaden Menzies and Ethan Stout shot 14 under par at Queen's Park this week, only to be outdone by Caleb Duffy, who shoots 15 down. Across to Chingford, and Tom Mackay and Cameron Verco, both putting in good scores of 7 under par. Queenstown Gardens, Mikey Yu's been doing the business with 14 under. We'll see him in Christchurch this weekend. And at Tucker Beach, Andy Clune shoots the hot round for the week with 6 under par. Going up to Wanaka and Ely Point, you've got Toby and Riley Bruce, both shooting 2 down. And at Lismore, 4 players, no less than 4 players, shooting 12 under par. Andy Clune, Kyle Martin, Ryan Cambridge, and Dom Hayden, all sharing the honours in Wanaka. Across to Christchurch and Luke Holston and EPS putting in the hot rounds with 9 under. I hope to play around there myself tomorrow. And at Queen's Park Reserve, we have Willie Taratina hitting 9 under par, including an ace. So fantastic work, Willie. We'll see him in Christchurch this week. And if he can repeat any of that kind of form, then he's going to be very difficult to beat indeed. Over to Brooker Ave and Ashton Clark doing well with 5 under par. Again, looking to carry some of that form into this weekend's tournament. And up to the capital, Berhampore Hills, Troy Robinson sets the top score for the week with 5 under par. And across to Petone at Hikoikoi Reserve, this was last weekend's Hosker. Stan Morris hits 7 under par, only to be outdone by a course record tying Andy Davey with 8 under par at Petone. Now, if you know the Petone course, no prizes for guessing the hole he missed the birdie on. That's right, hole 4, the easiest hole on the course. But nevertheless, well done, Andy, for hitting 8 under par and tying the course record there. Up to Harcourt Park in Upper Hutt, and it's Patricio Contreras hitting 8 under par at Harcourt Park. I reckon that's about 10-20 rated. That's a very, very good round. Best score on that course since October last year. And up at Linklater, Joel Simpson putting in a good set of rounds, the best of which was 5 under par. Across New Plymouth and Inglewood, and Conor McKinstry shoots 5 under. He's got 6 of the top 10 scores in 2021, so Conor continuing to rip it up at Inglewood. And Patricio Contreras on his New Zealand tour, it seems. McLaren's normally a tough course. This week, he put in a 7 under par and a 9 under par. So well done to Patricio again, putting in some fantastic scores. McLaren is tough. Over to Rosedale in Auckland, and Flavio Mayorga hits the best round with 1 under, and Cameron Oliver hits par for Woodhill Red Tees to take out the hot score there. So some great disc golf being played up and down the country, despite the clocks going backwards and having less light time during the week to play. People are concentrating all of their efforts on the weekend, and so we hope to see much more of that. Now, my guest now is well, doesn't really need any introduction, but I'll introduce him anyway. He's the Heislander champion and the New Zealand disc golf champion for 2021. He also walked away with a Fiordland fortune. I'd like to welcome Justin Workman. Good evening, Justin.
Good evening, Matt. you see me okay?
How are you?
Okay?
I can hear you
great.
okay, and there we go. Lovely.
You're kind of scratchy on the mic. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay. All right. So hopefully that's okay. Can you hear me all right?
Still kind of scratchy, but we'll work through it. We can. I'll do my best to hear everything.
Okay. Hey, look. So we met about 10 minutes ago, and so I've seen a lot of your performances that have been coming in. So I really want to know a little bit more about you. What's your story? How did you get to New Zealand, and what brought you to here?
So what brought me to New Zealand was love. So yeah, I'm in New Zealand. I mean, I probably would have came outside of the relationship I'm in, but love was definitely the pull to come to New Zealand. My girlfriend Javi is from Chile, and so we don't really have a common country that suits us as individuals. My country being, the United States of making everything difficult. And so it's really hard for her to come live in the States, and there's no disc golf courses in Chile, so it's really hard for me to go live in Chile. And so we've kind of been bouncing around the world, trying to be together, in South America, North America, Asia, blah, 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 Europe. And then now we found a place to be together for an extended period of time in New Zealand. And so that is what brought us here. And we came here on working holiday visas. For one, there was disc golf, and two, there was a decent opportunity for her to pursue her passion as well. And so, yeah, we are 1 year and almost 3 months rocking in New Zealand and loving every minute of it.
Brilliant. My word. That's a fantastic story, and you're not the only person, I'm sure, who's made their way to New Zealand for those reasons. Talk to us about the disc golf that you found here. What are some of the differences between perhaps the disc golf you played outside of New Zealand and the play here?
I would say the main difference for me would be the volume of courses to choose from. Growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, I had, what would that be, maybe like 10 courses within a 15-minute drive of my house. Wow. And these courses were, very different from one another. And I would say at least 5 of them were at like a championship caliber level. So I put it more on like a level of McLaren Falls and Tequiti and Watauga and Rotorua. So that was like the typical, not everyday course, but those were like the good courses in my neighborhood, and I had 5 to choose from, rather than typically in New Zealand having 1 or 2, depending on where you're at. Like Auckland has quite a few that you can go to if you want to do some driving. But typically, you're pretty much constrained to 2 courses, 3 courses at the most. And I would say that's the biggest difference. I would say the level of difficulty, and this is like a broad overview of the courses in New Zealand. I would say most of the courses are relatively simple. Not simple, but I would say that they're pretty easy to play. I mean, obviously you have your really tough ones. Go back to Tequiti and Rotorua and McLaren Falls, and honestly, I got to give a shout out to the Paradise course this year, because I think that was my favorite course in New Zealand that I've played thus far, because it was very technical. It challenged a lot of different shots in your game, and you couldn't ask for a more beautiful venue for the course. And then the Heislander player was awesome. A lot of the pop-up tournaments, have had some really solid, difficult courses. The Roxburgh tournament that Johnny Ferrari and Stephen Reed, Wax On, Wax Off, and Daddy Morgan Harteveld put on. That was a very good course. It was challenging, lots of distance, and that's another thing that I felt was kind of lacking in particular, South Island. New Zealand disc golf was like long holes that you can really like rip the disc. You know, I feel like for anybody that throws over 150 meters, like I don't think there's a couple holes that are coming to mind, but most holes probably you can't rip a disc that far on the course here. And then obviously I love the ingenuity and what's the word I'm looking for? The creativity of the New Zealand disc golf community here to take some of those courses and make really cool variations with the baskets to make it more challenging and make it more long and with like a bunch of added OBs, and so that's been really fun, like experiencing the variations of the courses on South Island in particular.
Yeah, I mean, almost out of necessity, really, because as you say, there's fewer courses. And the necessity to have to make safari holes and to adapt courses to be able to offer that championship kind of level play. It's great. It's fantastic that's getting noticed. You know, any favourite events so far? You've mentioned Paradise. Any others that you want to do a shout out to?
I'm obviously So Paradise was the best, and I gotta thank a lot of people for that tournament being, where it is at the moment. I've heard a lot of the history, but I know the Jaguar, James Middle, shout out to him 100% on really, and a couple other guys. I don't know exactly. My mind is kind of drawing a blank, but maybe Bob Gentle and some of the other cats had something to do with getting the Paradise tournament started. But Paradise was sweet, and Martin Galley is such a such a good person, and he did just the best job with that tournament. And I would say it's probably the best tournament I've played PDJ sanctioned ever, and this is including tournaments back home and in New Zealand. So, major props to everybody involved in the Paradise tournament and bringing it to what it is today, because I've heard the history, and to have 100 and I don't know how many people were there, but I think it was like 115 or so, maybe 110 players. So that is
110, yes.
And then the Heislander was also just a banger of an event. Tom Mackay, my gangster, if you're watching, love you. He did just wondrous things putting that tournament on, and it was so much fun. And the tournaments here, and then Roxburgh and Jordan Fortune. So huge shout out to Grant Chapman and Shannon Cunningham and Tiana, because they set up just an amazing event, and I had the pleasure of playing with them for a full month after that event. So I love you guys. You guys have been great. But I would say all the events have been really good, and I think the best thing about those events is being able to see everybody, at every single event, because it's almost like a traveling family of disc golfers. You see, for the most part, the same faces. So it's like cool for me knowing that, okay, I'm going to go here and I'm going to see this cat and this cat and this cat, and we're going to have fun and have banter, and So I think that's what I've most appreciated, is just the community that attend the tournaments.
You mentioned that you mentioned to me briefly beforehand that you're coming up to Wellington in a week or so, and you're going to travel the rest of the North Island.
So our plan right now is ever changing and ever evolving. So our plan is to go to Wellington. We have an appointment to make on the 15th, and then we're going to stay and play, I think, the 16th and 17th in Wellington. So if anybody watching wants to play some disc golf, I'll be there 16th and 17th. Everybody's welcome. Let's go throw some discs, have a good time. And then I think from there. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say on the 17th there is an event in Wellington, Heiser, up at Hartfield Park. So the doubles in the morning, singles in the afternoon. So I'm sure there'll be lots of people eager to play that, especially if they get to meet you. Where do you go from there?
From there, we're gonna go to Tongariro and then do the crossing, and then over to Taranaki, check out the volcano, and maybe do some trekking. We've kind of done whole lot of hiking around New Zealand, so kind of simmering down now that the winter's coming. Go check out the volcano, and then I really want to play Inglewood disc golf course.
Yeah.
So that will be.
You mentioned playing a lot of shorter courses in the South Island. Inglewood's one of the longer courses, and so if you will have a chance to flex your arm, certainly on that first hole, you'll have to do that a few times. So there was North Island champs there last year, and very long course. I struggled personally, but
yeah, I can't wait. I've heard only good things about that course and about the Taranaki disc golf community. So, yeah, very much looking forward to that. And then we're going to head up to Auckland, and hopefully we'll be there for an extended period of time, just to kind of take a chill pill from traveling. And then, hopefully, I get to play with Simon and Jacko and Jono and Patricia. I think he's going to be up there. So, yeah, really play with them. Mario. So, really, get to know them a little bit better, as, I've only kind of caught them for snippets. And, just be a good place just to kind of relax and kind of chill and not travel so much for a little bit.
Fantastic. And so, long term, do you see yourself staying in New Zealand for any extended period of time?
Ooh, the long term, kind of it's really hard to say. Obviously, there's some things back home that I miss. Like, I got a new nephew I've never met. So, and then long term goals at the moment would be stay in New Zealand until the government kicks us out, and play disc golf in the meantime while they're doing that. And then depending on what happens, maybe go back to the States whenever everything kind of simmers down and see my nephew. And then I've really been giving serious thought about really trying to practice and progress my game, because historically speaking, disc golf for me has been like banter and beer drinking and going to the course and hanging out. So that has historically been my disc golf history, not too many tournaments. So I think maybe going back to the States, it would be a good idea for me to focus and maybe really try and put in practice so that I can compete at a high level. Because, that would be really cool. I've seen what happened with Paul Macbeth and him just making a ridiculous sum of money playing disc golf. And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, shoot, man, if I could just make $50,000 a year playing disc golf, I'd be a happy camper, And so I figure, go there and put my head down and focus. And, I got a lot of support from my girlfriend to do that. And so, so that's kind of the plan for right now. But really it's too hard to tell the future, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. But that's kind of like the brief, sort of semi, not concreted at all, very muddy, slippery idea.
Well, that's fantastic. Look, and if you do, if you do go back to the States and you do the work that you're hoping to do, and you do get to play on the Pro Tour, you'll have a whole country following you and supporting you all the way. I think it's been fantastic to watch your play even from afar. I've not competed in any tournaments that you played in, but hopefully we'll get to meet. Hopefully I'll see you next weekend when you're in Wellington, and we can play some disc golf, have a beer, and that'll be good. Justin, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been great to meet you, and we'll see you on a course very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, can I give a couple of shout outs real quick?
Absolutely, go for it.
So I would like to first shout out Annie Fife. She's in Wanaka right now. Right on, Annie. Thank you for watching. It's been awesome. I'd also really like to shout out kind of what I've heard from a bunch of different people, the founding fathers of New Zealand golf, and what it's become today has been amazing. And we need more of this. And from the history I've heard, and I just wanted to give a shout out and a round of applause to Nigel Barnwell, Bob Gentle, and James the Jaguar Smiddles, whose dream house I'm currently broadcasting from. So I would definitely like to give a shout out to everybody in that group, and everybody else who's grown the sport. I know Simon Feasy, RPM. I mean, a bunch of people I haven't met probably, but I know everybody has done so much, and it's been really cool to be able to set foot on what everybody's built. So that is very cool, and continued good work. I'd also like to give a lot of shout outs to, once again, Jaguar, my man, hooking us up and just being super awesome and friendly and accommodating, and very much appreciate him. And Hoop Dirty down in Wanaka, Martin, Bayface, Meerkat, Golly, and Wanaka, Billy, Simon, Jack. I'm just going to go through them now because there's too many. Grant Chapman, Shane Dog, Vaughn, and Nelson, Tom, Nelson, Ben, Nelson, Kelvin, and Twizel. He's kind of the person who got me on playing all these tournaments. So if you guys want to yell at anybody for me coming and playing tournaments, you yell at Kelvin and Twizel. And then Tom Mackay, Ryan and Wanaka, Sky, and Tianu, Andy and Wanaka, Luca, Westport, Methenberger, wherever you are, Chris Dixon, who loves inner thigh massages. So if you see Chris Dixon, make sure to hook him up. Johnny Toyota, Wax on, Wax off, and Daddy. So that's all. And then I would definitely 100% like to shout out you, Matt, for doing this. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for pushing disc golf in New Zealand, and continue the good work, brother.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for coming on the show. Very best of luck in the future, and I really hope we get to see you on JOMOs one day.
Yep. We'll be in Wellington, so I got your number, and I will definitely hit you up.
Excellent. All right. See you then, Justin. Cheers.
Take it easy, Matt. Cheers.
Cheers then. Bye-bye. Okay, that was Justin Workman. Lovely chap, and has been playing some absolutely fantastic golf. Next up, my next guest is Chris Davies, and Chris Davies is running the Peter Crowther Memorial Tournament, which is this weekend in Christchurch. The tournament is full up, so yeah, it's going to be a full day or 2 days of disc golf down in Christchurch. So welcome, Chris. Good evening.
Hello, Matt. Thank you.
How are you? Okay.
I'm pretty exhausted actually, man. I've had a pretty full week getting ready for the tournament. Mostly making trophies and keepsakes. Here's an example of one of the trophies.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey, look, you'll have to excuse my ignorance here. I'm relatively new to New Zealand disc golf. This will be my first South Island tournament. I've never played disc golf in Christchurch before, much to my embarrassment. However, I'm changing that this weekend. I'd like to know a little bit about who Peter Crowther was, how you knew him, etc.
Well, Pete was on board with the Frisbee thing very early on in New Zealand disc golf stage. So he was in only very slightly after Bob Gentle. Pete played a lot of ultimate, and he was also quite a keen freestyler as well. Of course, he was friends with Peter Bowie, who was the 1987 Whiff Diff World Combined Frisbee Champion, which included disc golf and discathon and maximum time aloft and throw, run and catch and discathon and all sorts of weird things. But Peter Bowie was an incredible, or still is an incredible freestyler, and Pete learned a lot from Pete. I met Pete probably in '96 when I first went up to Christchurch, and Bob Gentle gave me his name. And he was really the driving force in disc golf in Christchurch at the time, such as it was, because of course there was no marked out courses. There's probably only half a dozen people who were playing disc golf in Christchurch, mostly in Jelly Park and on several courses, different courses that we played over the years. Mm-hmm. And of course, when I moved back to Christchurch in 2000 from Queenstown, after helping set up Queenstown Gardens there. I was very keen to get something going in Christchurch, but nobody knew what disc golf was, and it was an endless game of explaining what disc golf actually was rather than making progress towards actually getting a disc golf course installed. So shortly before Peter's disappearance, I was approached by the combined Masons of Christchurch, the Masonic lodges, who wanted to install a course in Christchurch, which was very convenient. And so I went about designing a course at Jelly Park. And unfortunately, Pete never got to play that installed course. But I took it upon myself to create a memorial tournament for him because his body was never found, and so we never had a funeral for him. And so I think a lot of people had a great deal of difficulty getting closure. And we have two deaths as human beings. We're strange animals. Our first death is our ordinary death, and the second death we suffer is when people stop saying your name, or the last time someone says your name or thinks about you. And so it's really been my goal since Peter's disappearance over 8 years ago. We're now to the 9th memorial tournament, to just allow Peter's friends and acquaintances and others to come along and hear about Pete and celebrate his life. He was a real character. He had an enormous smile, and he always wore this really funny floppy cowboy hat thing. And he was a tremendously positive guy for disc golf, just unfortunately not positive enough for life. And of course, we have a huge problem in New Zealand with suicide. And my tournament really is just a way to remember Pete and to let those people get together and share their memories with him.
Well, it sounds great, and a great cause. How has the tournament sort of developed over the years?
Well, initially it wasn't. It was played before the baskets were installed, and we put temporary things up, and then we played a combination of the installed course and versions of the unofficial championship course through the years. And then last year, it was apparent to me very early on, even before the COVID thing, that shutting Jelly Park down for a whole weekend was a practical impossibility, because it would probably prevent 700 or 800 rounds of disc golf being played there for the weekend, and you'd upset, pretty much all of Christchurch, and the entire course would be full. Every tee, every hole would have a group of 4 on it. And I really don't want to do that. Why would I want to upset people? So Queen's Park and Brooker Ave are extremely different courses. I believe they're excellent designs. Of course, I'm a bit biased. And I wanted to showcase those two courses, and I still do. They are extremely different courses. Queen's Park is 9 holes measuring at just 662 metres. I call it the perfect date course because it's just 9 holes. You could take your date there, play 9 holes and go and have a cup of coffee. And it's not going to intimidate anyone. You can see all the baskets from the tee pads. It's technical, but it's pretty short. But you do need to be accurate to score well there. So, for example, I've thrown 14 under with just an envy at Queen's Park, playing 18. On the other hand, there's 9 holes that add up to 999 metres, I think, or possibly 1,000 metres. So much longer holes on average, about 110 metres each, with 4 par 4s in it. And Brooker is a hole which challenges your ability to read and understand the wind, and to really throw the disc on some big long lines, because if you only have 100 or 110 metres of power, you will really struggle to make birdies on that course. And
my 90-meter backhand isn't going to work then.
Well, no, you can get around it with a 90-meter backhand and get pars all the way and pick up a couple of birdies. And because you get on Saturday and Sunday, you get to play each course twice in a row.
Yeah.
So you'll play Queen's Park in the morning twice, or in Brooker in the afternoon twice. You'll get to take a revenge on your holes. So maybe you'll be able to lift your game on second round back 9 as it was.
I hope Brooker's first as well for me anyway. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so I'm not anticipating long play times or difficult playing conditions. These are very easy courses to get around. I can pull my cart around no problem. We've got competitors down as low as 13, and I think Donald is 70 plus. They're both courses that are easy to get around. Brooker can be demanding and can be a bit of a disc loser, so we'll get people spotting discs at Brooker.
Okay, good stuff. And so what can people expect from the tournament? What's the vibe going to be like?
Pretty casual, actually. Although I'm a fairly strict PDGA TD, I'll be instructing people to follow the rules, of course. But it is this is a celebration of Peter's life. For me, it's the Memorial first, the disc golf second. I can say that now that there's no chance of me ever winning the event again. And so what they can expect, I think, is a demonstration of some very good disc golf skills from local golfers and from people coming from south and north to play. Because there's the potential for some dark horses to come through and really upset the apple cart. If we just went on pure PDGA ratings, well, we've got probably up to about 10 guys who should take it, starting with Ben Wheellake, who's had a bit of a checkered history at Pete Crowther, but he's capable of winning any event. Mikey Yu's a defending champion. Hemi is also a defending champion, a multiple champion, actually. And then we've got young Isaac Sassanuma Howard. Isaac's a tremendously capable young disc golfer. We've got Dom Hayden and Willie, and then Jasper and Zach Taylor, and they're all within 2 PDGA points of each other, spread from 943 down to 941. Ashton Clark, another local golfer, and he was the Pete Crowther champion last year, the local champ. And even Bryn Hill could surprise a few people. And there's some other people as well there, Jeremy Brokenshire and another couple. They could upset the apple cart. But I think we're going to see some low scores.
I certainly hope so. And just looking at the card there, I think if you're looking for a feature card to follow, it's got to be the Ben Wheellake, Ashton Clark, Kyle Martin, and Bryn Hill card.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, that was. And funnily enough, that actually was a complete fluke. Just when we told the system to make the cards, that's the cards that came up, and I thought, yeah, good card.
That's a great card. People are going to be following that. Excellent. So look, obviously it's on the PDGA site. You expect there to be fairly good signal the whole weekend, so no issue following the tournament.
It's my first time using PDGA scoring and the live scoring system. Thank you so much to Martin, partner Martin. Just he's the TD with the mostest, man. I think he's forgotten more about TDing than I currently know. And so he spent a lot of time with me on the back end setting it up. And all credit to the PDGA as well. Thank you, PDGA. They've added a feature that prior to this weekend would have made setting it up with the 2 courses very difficult with the setup that we have. But they've made some changes, and it's just a web-based app, so you only need access through a browser to do the scoring. So I'm pretty confident that we should have every group actually live scoring. I'm printing some cards, but I'm going to be very reluctant to give them out.
Fantastic. We've had a few questions come through in the comments. If you're happy to take a few questions. Vincent Scott, is there a reason reason behind the Peter Crowther not being held in Jelly Park where Peter played?
Yeah, that's purely because of the numbers of players that would be affected by closing the course. I really can't justify it. True, Peter did play, and that's the reason that I did choose originally to host Pete Crowther at Jelly. But, things change, times move along, and disc golf is a very different proposition to what it was when we started celebrating Pete's memorial back in 2014, 2013.
Okay. And we got a question from Isaac. What happened to the Tone course at Ascot?
Well, you'd probably have to ask the local kids that have destroyed most of the equipment, I guess. You know, I spent an awful long time putting that stuff together and getting it out there. And, you know, what can I do? There was an awful lot of time involved, and just to keep maintaining that stuff on my own back is, and I believe Christchurch Disc Golf Club are intending to install the course there. So we'll wait and see what happens there.
Okay, excellent. Look, so people can follow on the PDGA site, pdga.com/live, and look for the Peter Crowther Memorial from the drop-down list, and that'll have all the scores going as we go. Looking at the tournament, it seems the advanced card was about half the field. It tees off from Brooker Ave in the morning, with all other divisions going around Queen's Park for 2 rounds each, and then on the Sunday it's a round at Brooker and a round at Queen's Park, and presumably it gets seeded and all the rest of it.
Yes.
Excellent, superb. Well, look, Chris, I'm really looking forward to coming down to Christchurch and to meeting a whole.
Meeting you. Thanks for coming down, by the way.
No, I'm very much looking forward to it. Justin was talking about the South Island having lots of kind of pitch and putt courses, which is perhaps doesn't suit his game, very much suits my game. So I'm looking forward to playing some short.
We talk about that subject for a second, Matt, because I think it's actually quite an important one. And what he says is actually quite true. And if you take a look at the distribution of courses and baskets throughout New Zealand, if you add up the total number of baskets and then take a look at each course and assign them one of 2 categories, and if you assign them, if you call a disc golf course a community course on one hand, or a destination course on the other. And a community course is one which backs onto people's properties, has a school in one corner, usually a playground, and it's in the heart of a community. A destination course, on the other hand, is any course you have to go there specifically to play. Right? There's nobody walking through it to go to school. So a community course is designed to transform disused and unloved public spaces and re-engage communities with those spaces with plastic. And the Queen's Park course, and I'm sure you'll agree once you've played it, is the perfect case study for how to grow disc golf. And I'm not talking about disc golf as a sport, but that follows, because it's disc golf as a game which needs to grow in order for the sport to grow. The percentage of people who play disc golf as a sport is always a tiny but fixed percentage of the overall total number of people who play the game. So if you want to grow the sport, then the best thing you can do is ignore it completely and install community courses with short, easily attainable holes which have technical challenges which force people to improve. They don't have to be ridiculously easy. Those courses don't attract players. They don't have much replayability. So you need to have careful, considered course design and targeted for the people that the course is intended for. People who want to throw 160-meter shots, well, they can take their discs and go to any park and throw them 160 meters. But if I install a disc golf course in Christchurch, which is 2,900 meters long, it's still to this day won't get the sort of use that it should. So I'm still fully concentrated on installing community disc golf courses anywhere I can get permission to do it. Because I now have the recipe that allows me to say categorically that if I build it, people will come.
Good stuff. And an absolutely spot on point about developing the game before and so the sport flowing on from that. It was a great point actually made by Jay Redding in the Upshot podcast, if you get a chance to see that, the Ulti-World Disc Golf host, and they were making a very similar point earlier last week. So there's certainly something to it. Chris, thanks so much for coming on today and for joining us and telling us a little bit about the history of the tournament. I was certainly unaware of all of that detail prior to today, and I'm very much looking forward to coming down to the South Island and to Christchurch and seeing how you guys put on a tournament. So thank you so much, and I'll see you probably tomorrow or Saturday.
You could well see me tomorrow. Thanks for having me on, Matt. Much appreciated. And I'd like to come back and talk about some other things at some other time, perhaps.
Fantastic, fantastic. Looking forward to it. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Cheers, Chris.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Lovely stuff. So thank you very much, Chris, for coming on the show. And I'm sure we'll have Chris back another day. So just to wrap up, just wanted to let you know about some other events which are happening around the country. We've got Heiser in the capital. If you're in Wellington next Saturday, there's doubles in the morning, singles in the afternoon up at Harcourt Park. That's always a good bit of fun. And in 2 weeks' time is the Queenstown Classic and the King Country Classic on the same weekend. The Queenstown Classic sold out in a few minutes, so good luck getting a spot there if you're not involved already. But the one to look out for is Topor, which is on the, let me make sure I get my dates right here, is on the 8th and 9th of May. The registration for that opens on Monday. Now this one is going to sell out quick, so if you're going to be around Topor on the 8th and 9th of May, then make sure you're around on Monday, taking a look at the details for registration. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in today. I've had a word from Chris Hoopman at Flexline Media that the Nationals coverage is going to be out very soon. So make sure that you head over to the Flexline Media YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. More importantly, hit the bell so that you know and are notified the second that that Nationals coverage drops. I've read and seen that it was a fantastic final round, and I just can't wait to catch up on that. I won't mention any spoilers now. Finally, that's it from me. It's going to be a lovely weekend, I'm sure, down in Christchurch. I hopefully get to meet a lot of you this weekend, and so I shall see you all there. Have a great week, guys. See you next week.